Welcome back to Rune Aetts. It's been a while since we've done a reading with the clans or the Aetts. So all the runes live in a family just like we do. And so there are 3 families or clans as far as the Germanic rune set goes. We have the family of the practical and earthly matters. There is the emotional and mental growth Aett family. And then we have the connection, creativity, regeneration, as I call the spirituality Aett family. So let's go ahead and we're going to cast runes. That's traditionally how they used to do this, whether you were a Viking or a Germanic tribe. Okay, casting the runes. Here we go. Elders, what would you like us to know? Okay, and if you've watched me in the past videos, you know that anything that is not face up that I can see goes back into the bag. And so those are not our messages for tonight. I'm going to scoot this over so you can see that better. Okay. So picking up the runes that I do not visibly see. Looks good. Okay, so they will go back into my pouch. Now the runes, there's 24 of them in the Germanic set. There's 16 in the Danish or Scandinavian set, so think Viking era. So I have ancestors that, utilize this in their lives. So we're going to put these Aetts, aka family or clan. Now if I was following the Germanic, that's Aetts. If I'm following the Danish side of my family, then it's called Etts. So they just drop the A off. So it's Aetts, family or clan. And so in the Germanic, which is the newer version compared to the Scandinavian Danish version, that is called the younger set. So the Vikings used the younger. It's the exact opposite, I know. And the Germanic tribes that came later used what they called the elder rune set, which is the 24. So what we're going to do is we're going to set these up in their families and do a reading based on what I see here. And so I'm going to put these in numerical order. So in the Elder Rune set, there's 24. So there's a family of 8, 8, and 8. And so what I'm doing is just putting these into kind of a rough position, and then I'll tweak it based on how it's looking here. And then this one. So we have 1, 2, 3. We're skipping runes 4 and 5, going to 6, 7, and 8. So for a spiritual or divine message within the rune families, I'm looking for either all ones in the first position. So I'm looking at 1s, 2s, 3s, 4. So we don't have anything except for in the 6th position. So we have 6, 6, 6. So this is the 6th rune, this is the 14th rune, and this is the 22nd rune. So that will be our important message for tonight, as well as the 3 going across. Sometimes I get a lot of them all in a big run, and sometimes I don't. So tonight, that's what we'll focus on. So let's look at the vertical. So this is really looking at, again, Kinas. This is the torch. This is more if you think about the education. So this is all about using your skills, finding solutions, overcoming misunderstandings, maybe even seeking forgiveness. So you're learning. And on the emotional and mental family side, we have Perthrow. So this is all about like diplomacy, fate, destiny. This is using your intuition. Some people will think, oh, you just had a stroke of genius, but this is really using spirit, right, to get into connection and really listening to that advice. And then on the spiritual family Aett, of course, this looks like a cocoon or like the DNA strand. So this is more of the male fertility side, where Berkana is more the female energy side. So this one is all about, if you think hearth, this is Ingwas. So this is about construction, shelter, yield, good investment. You have prosperity, luck, those kinds of things with this rune. Okay, now let's look at the message that's significant as far as the physical plane goes, because in this family or Aett, there are 3 in a row here. We have 6, 7, and 8. So this one is talking about, again, education. This is Kinas. Again, it's the looking at solutions, forgiveness, overcoming misunderstandings, using your skills, seeking the truth. And this is Gibo. This is sort of the male and female energy of giving and receiving. So this is really big, and I tell this story often. My Germanic grandmother was very intense about this. She was all about hospitality. But if you recall, if this was an important value or rune, that was taught generationally. And so they had a cautionary tale with this rune that if you did not take care of those around you, if you did not serve those around you, poverty would, be foretold upon you. So in the Germanic tribes, or even in, Scandinavian tribes, any early peoples, they depended upon each other to survive. They didn't necessarily have the same skills, but they all pulled some weight, and as equal weight as possible. Okay, that was survival. And so if the clan went down, the clan went down, right? And that was kind of the it of you. So this was very, very important to my grandma. And then the last rune on the physical Aett is Wanju, and this is all about satisfaction. So this is working through runes 1 through 8, right, to get the joy, happiness, success. This might be, let's see, how will I describe it? Career opportunities, your wishes are granted. Okay. You may have, if you backslid, you may be reborn after some really tough bottoms, on the physical attributes here. So those are the important runes in this message. So if I was reading it completely from, rune 1 going down to 24, what would be the message? This is Thor's hammer. This is Thor's. So use your strategy and your calculations. Break through stagnation. Learn what you need to learn. Be sure that you give and take equally. You will have a lot of joy and satisfaction for having shared and be of service to others. Use that intuition, that destiny, that fate to really receive good, orderly direction. This is Tiwaz. And, display motherly love. This is Berkana. This is the femininity rune. So this is all about growth. And this is the male fertility rune. So this is all about Ingwas, the hearth, shelter, construction, getting good yield, good investment. Maybe you have to gestate or cocoon up in order to break free. This is the butterfly rune. If you're a cocoon here, then you become the butterfly next. This is Dagus. This means day, so you're starting a new cycle, a new beginning. Okay. Now, if I was looking at this from my Danish heritage, and let's say these runes were just 16, out of the 24 runes, 8 would have to disappear. And then granted, the markings might not be identical. They may have different symbolisms depending on what part of the country they were from. But just know that they read fairly similarly. So, anywho, out of the 24, what runes would come off the board because the younger set would not have them? So, the Vikings, Danish peoples, did not have Wanju. They did not have Gibo, with the giving and the receiving. They did not have Perthro, with the destiny and fate, stroke of genius. Okay. They did not have Ingwas, which is all about the hearth, the shelter, the yield, the investment. And they didn't have Dagus, which is the new beginning rune, new cycle. So that really cleared the board. That was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 out of the 8. That's a lot. So, using this board now, if I was in my Scandinavian ancestry and we had cast the runes, this is what would be remaining. There would be no run of 3 of anything. They would say, the Vikings would say, use Thor's hammer, break out of stagnation, use your skills and your assets, find solutions, get some good orderly direction. This is the war rune. This is law and order. Have honor, power, and drive. Reach your target, get victory, get clarity. And then be sure that you display motherly love and femininity. This is the growth. Okay. So you can see how different things are depending on, the version, the family, the clan. So we had 2 in the Aett, we had 0 in the emotional and mental Aett, and we had 2 in the spiritual Aett. So, thanks for joining tonight. I thought I would try something a little different because it's been a while since we've done this style of message or reading. But it's important to know that the family had runes and the runes had families too. And so it's important to know the levels or the layers as you're working through things to kind of keep that in mind. It helps make the logic of it all easier, simpler, hopefully. So, we'll talk to you again. See you later. Bye.